Make sure that we're oh, okay, all right, we are live.
Hey.
Hey, sorry for that. You are welcome to a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How are you doing today, Seth?
Good.
All right, sorry for the little confusion at first. We just got off another podcast, the pre-recorded episode that's going to come out this weekend, so stay tuned for that. But now we're going to do to the news of the week, as usual. And first of all, I want to thank our sponsor. This episode of the Electrek Podcast is brought to you by the all-new, all-electric Volkswagen ID4 SUV with zero direct emissions. It's the first electric vehicle for everyone. Before it can change the world, it has to change yours. Thanks, Volkswagen ID4. But the star of the show today is the Ford F-150 Lightning that was unveiled just earlier this week. Seth managed to see it in person. We sort of teased it on the last show, but it was still on embargo. Now we have all the details and great details. I mean, the short story here is that, and we sort of hinted to that last week, is they hit the mark on basically everything in terms of specs and pricing. So it is kind of a difficult balance to have here, especially with the trucks, with the big trucks. Like with the electric vehicles, like Tesla sort of proved it with everyone. Like you, especially for the luxury segment or mid-luxury segment, like you can make a vehicle that meets all the standard that you have in that segment and have it all electric at that pricing. It kind of worked. Then Tesla did it again with the Cybertruck, and actually, like, they went beyond everything we were expecting with the Cybertruck. Like everyone, if you like, now it's been 2 years, so people kind of forget, but everyone was shocked at the price of the Cybertruck, the starting price for that range and the mid-range version at $50,000 with all the crazy specs. So like we know what it did to Rivian. Rivian had to adjust, had to reduce their pricing and everything because of the Cybertruck, the way it was unveiled with those specs. But now, so that became sort of the standard, and now Ford came with it, and they meet that standard and exceeds it to some degree too. So you want to go into the details, Seth, since you're the one who wrote it.
Yeah. So the big shocker was the price. So $39,900 whatever, $40,000. That's before incentives, and Ford hasn't hit their incentive mark. So like, they're probably, I don't think they're going to sell enough Mach-E's to cross that. I don't know though. And realistically, there's probably going to be additional incentives coming down the pike. So you're talking about getting close to $30,000 starting price. And that's for the consumer model base. it's going to have the normal tires, the normal, not much going on inside. But then for another $10,000 ish, you bump up to a 300-mile version with, pretty insane specs, 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, 4 point whatever. It's a pretty crazy vehicle. I mean, for Ford, F-150 is the most popular vehicle, I think, in the US by far. And it's going to be the best F-150 easily. So it's kind of surprising that, Ford was able to get all these things. Now, there has been some backlash, like, well, when is the cheap one going to come out, and when is so that's all still up in the air. Ford still has to, they have to deliver on this promise that they have, but as laid out, the specs are pretty good. In addition to the speed and the batteries pack size and the 300-mile range, Ford did some stuff that surprisingly Tesla hasn't yet. And the big thing there is the power to your home stuff. That to me was like, all right, Ford is really thinking ahead here. So basically, when you buy this adapter from Sunrun, they have a partnership, your power goes out, and within a second, the Ford F-150 is powering your house, and it can power your house, including everything, for 3 days. And then if you're, economical with your power usage, it can go up to 10 days. So I'm sure people in Texas who are, recently, where they've been known to buy a pickup and have recently had rolling power blackouts are thinking to themselves, hey, I wouldn't have to put up with this craziness if I had an F-150 Lightning. So Ford is really kind of just answering those problems that people are having. And it's kind of weird that Tesla wasn't the first to come out with this. They have the Powerwall. They have the technology to do it. It doesn't seem like the leadership there thinks that people want to do this. And, of course, like people are like, well, what happens when you want to go to the store? Like your refrigerator is going to go off. Well, your refrigerator goes off for a little bit, or you take the other car, or, whatever.
Yeah, it's a plus. It's not like a must. You have to do it. If you could use it, it's there, and they can implement it without. No, we just talked to Darren about it. Like it's not that complicated to do. That's the big difference. But just having it, and if you are someone like you said, if you live in Texas right now and you happen to be on the market for a new truck, and at the same time you're like looking for a generator or a power wall or like a solution like that because of the recent problems, now you're like, oh, actually I can combine both purchases and save money probably by doing it. So yeah, I mean it's a no-brainer. And I'm glad that now Ford is into it. Like Hyundai did it recently too.
Yep.
So like there's a lot of new vehicle program that are frankly the best vehicle program that we've seen from a while from legacy automakers, and that they're all in on it. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, from now on, going forward, if one of the things people are going to ask, like, does your EV have power out? Like, why doesn't it have power out? Why can't it power my house?
It's going to become a standard, basically.
For sure. And I think houses are going to start to be built with like the idea that that either a battery or an EV is going to be able to use backup power. So that's fantastic. And so I drove in the car. I wasn't like Biden, and I didn't get to drive it. So that was, come on.
Those presidents, they all get all the.
Yeah, I feel like what has he done? Yeah. Anyway, I did get to ride in it. They gave us a mud ride, like big hills and stuff. It off-roads like crazy, like it, with the low center of gravity and the instant torque and all that stuff. It just makes off-roading that much more fun. Another ride had a huge trailer, and they had this trailer package that adjusts the steering and the brakes and everything, and didn't feel like we had a trailer on the back. We were going up like steep hills, nothing, like it just didn't feel like there was a trailer back there. And then another version was the woman pictured there took us out on the oval. The Ford has an oval at their testing grounds. And that's where she kind of just like she, hit the floor with the pedal. And that's what, like, from that, I think that Ford is understating its 0 to 60 time. It's saying mid 4 seconds. My Tesla does mid 4 seconds. It's very quick. I feel like the F-150 is probably going to be low 4 seconds, maybe high 3 seconds when it comes to it.
I think in the interview too that you guys going to see later this weekend, Darren sort of already hinted to Ford kind of playing it safe with the numbers on other numbers and then the 0 to 60, but still. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're right about that, if they actually come up with a version that's
and actually
faster.
I didn't show anybody this, but when they presented the price to us, they were like, and we're going to charge, I think he said $59,000 for it. What do you guys think about that? And I was like, yeah, that sounds about, that's Rivian price. And then they were like, they undid the price and they were like, oh, it's only 39. And everybody's like, oh, I mean, that's a pretty good technique. But so my major gripe about it, like I didn't have many, but the major gripe was that it only charges at 150 kilowatts. Well, we'll find out more about that in the interview.
Yeah,
but
it could be more.
Could be more. Yeah, just all around, very impressive. I like the guys over there and women over there. They're all really smart people. They're really behind Ford. They're really behind electrification. And this is kind of this is what Electrek's all about. It's like we're the transition from gas to electric, and they're on they're missionaries, I would say.
It doesn't feel like what we were so used to, like for people that have been in the EV community for a long time and been following this space for such a long time. It was always the legacy automaker, and Ford was guilty of that too with the Focus. half-ass the programs. It feels like they're just, oh, we have to do an electric vehicle. Like, all right, we'll do an electric vehicle now. And not that the Focus EV was awful, but I mean, it wasn't what it could have been for sure. It was, they didn't put all the resources that they could have in there. And now with the F-150 and with the Mach-E before that too, you can see that this is not that. Like, this is obviously a vehicle program from the ground up that, like, let's make the best EV we can make, the best car we can make, period. It just happens to be electric, and we take advantage of our electric capabilities. And we see that, like, you talk about the towing capacity. Like, you cannot do that with a fossil fuel engine. With that instant torque is what you need to have this feeling of not pulling a 10,000 pound trailer in the back. So yeah, I mean, my only concern, and I mean, you're gonna see in an interview we did talk with Darren Palmer about that, the head of the electric vehicle program at Ford, is I feel confident that they're gonna sell everything they can make for it. So it's about how much they can make, and they didn't share any production capacity, production volume that they're planning for it, but they did say that they are looking to produce some significant numbers. So I'm looking forward to see what that looks like. And of course, producing electric vehicles in volumes always first start with securing the battery cell capacity. And there was a big announcement this week from Ford following the unveiling of the F-150 Lightning that they started a new joint venture with SK Innovation, which is their battery cell supplier for the F-150. And they are planning to deploy through that joint venture a 60 gigawatt hour of annual battery cell production capacity. At they weren't clear on kind of the plan, and we know that SK already has a plant it's in Georgia. I want to say SK Innovation. I think
that sounds right. Yeah,
in Georgia. So I don't know if they are adding that there as part of the joint venture. It's going to be a new factory in the US, but it's going to be new capacity through that venture. So in 60 gigawatt hour of capacity is significant. It could be bigger for sure, especially for that vehicle program. They didn't confirm the battery pack size, but you did some back of napkin type of calculation and you came up with 170, I think. Is that what you said?
170. Oh yeah. I would say 150 to 170 kilowatt hour battery.
Yeah.
In the big one, and probably 110, 120 in the normal.
Yeah. So like each truck taking that capacity, this is a lot, but you can see. Is this did it talk to you about this being is it the extended range version? Is it the normal version, like the bigger? Like it looks like they added some module here, so I'm thinking maybe.
I believe that was extended. Yeah.
Yeah. So probably the standard range is just going to be the bottom that we see here, and then this added module on the battery pack. We should have has there and about that. Didn't think of it. But I mean, you see, like we're what we're used to see now for electric vehicles, this kind of skateboard design here with a motor on each axle. Each version is all-wheel drive too.
They're not making a two-wheel drive version of it. At least they haven't announced one yet. And the frame is basically similar to a regular F-150 frame, except it's reinforced a little bit because of the extra weight of the batteries. So it's actually stronger than a typical F-150.
Stronger, better distribution of weight than the regular F-150, the gas motor F-150, lower center of gravity than the regular F-150. This is all like things that automakers like Ford are just now taking advantage of than before, when they were just making compliance cars that are just built on the existing platform where you have to like just hack it together.
Right
now you can design it from the ground up and take all those advantage, and hopefully it's gonna take off. I mean, they just announced a over 44,000 reservations with $100 deposit, which is not a giant show of interest. Like it's the same one as the Cybertruck, same terms really, but still a decent show of demand for the first few days. And I mean, for those trucks anyway, you're gonna have to put them in the hands of people to convince them, I feel like.
Yeah.
So one of my other concern with the production capacity, being my first one, is going to be the dealerships. How receptive are they going to be to that electric versions? Are they going to have them in their lots in volumes, and are going to be a partner in pushing them, or are they going to be a bottleneck in pushing them? Really, it's my biggest concern.
Yeah, and the typical Ford F-150 people aren't necessarily your typical EV advocates. So it's gonna be
But
interesting.
like, I feel like if you put someone competent about it, that is passionate about electric vehicle, and you take anyone that is not a convert yet, and but you give them a test drive with one of those trucks, I feel like you can convince them. You just have to have the right people to do it. And for the most part, what we've seen from dealership, and there's exceptions, of course, there's a ton of exception, but the majority of them haven't been that helpful so far. It's a big thing. I think it's something that Audi has talked a lot. I like how Audi has been approaching that. They recognize the problem early. Like a lot of automakers, I feel like have like kind of a hostage situation that they have with their dealerships, where
Right.
it's like a hostage negotiation with them, and neither side wants to piss the other side off and that. But Audi was like, they recognized the issue pretty quickly. They're like, all right, we need to get the dealerships on board with this, like full on, in order for electric vehicles to be successful. So I hope that we see more automakers doing that, so that we see a bigger impact with all, because there's going to be a ton of great electric vehicle programs coming on dealership lots right now, with the F-150, the Ioniq 5, the EV6. Let's talk about the EV6. You went all the way to New York Times Square to see it in person.
Been doing a lot of traveling.
Yeah. What was that about exactly? Because we that was the U.S. North American launch of the EV6. We already knew everything about the vehicle, basically, from the previous launch a month or two ago.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, we didn't learn anything new. It was nice to see it in person. There's quite a lot of room in the back. Like, I feel like this would be really good car in China, where people, typically have drivers, because there's just days of like leg room in there. Mm-hmm. So, it was good to see it up front. Got to sit in it. Didn't get to drive it. But it was more like, it was getting in front of the press. There weren't actually that many people there. There's maybe like 10 or 15 press people. There was a lot of dealers there. It was kind of just more like a celebration. And I did put a video in for the launch, which was basically just two guys, a guy and a girl, driving the car out from behind the stage. But it was cool.
Weird to see the automakers now like doing the launches, like just everyone is coming out of the quarantine and everything, and like, oh, do we remember how we do this? Right. We're just doing virtually now. Kia went all the way around. It went from virtually to let's do it in Times Square.
Right, the other end of the spectrum. It was fun. It was they had a nice mixer beforehand. They got to talk a little bit about it. I don't know. I think when we get closer to launch time, we'll have some driving time with it. It's a great car. I mean, it's the same as the same platform as the Ioniq 5, and I think it'll be quite popular. It's got the same like 2 kilowatt out charging, so you can have a campfire party and all that.
So with the US launch, did they say anything about because one of the big thing with the Ioniq 5 and the EV6 is the configurations, like the 2 battery packs being both available with 2 different motor configurations. We've seen some automakers in the last few years not releasing the lower power, not necessarily lower power, but smaller battery pack version in North America. Is this going to be the case for this one, or did they say they release the specs for all, basically 4 configurations of it?
They released the specs for all of them. I don't know if they're all guaranteed to come out in the US. They were kind of cagey about that, and they were also, obviously, I asked what's the price going to be, and they were like, don't know. And we can just kind of guess from what's been announced in Europe. Probably 40,000, something like that.
Yeah. That's a big thing that was missing from the launch. the actual pricing. Yeah, the more I'm looking at it, I think I like the EV6 more than the design-wise, the EV6 more than the Ioniq 5.
The back for me is the one that it's hard to like. It's just weird how the lights go up like that, but I'm sure I'll get used to it. The other thing is, like, I don't know why, but they feel like everything needs to be called an SUV, or a CUV. And I'm like, that's just a car. That's not a utility vehicle. I mean, it is utility, but so is every other car. So, they're calling it an SUV or CUV or something. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, everything's a crossover today or SUV. So it's pretty crazy. All right, now we're going to jump into the Tesla news in a second. But if you guys have any questions, put them in the comment section and we're going to get to it later on the show. Well, before we do the Tesla, let's stick with the non-Tesla stuff. We have one more thing we want to discuss on non-Tesla stuff. Is another test drive that you have all the fun set. You have all the fun.
Yeah, so this was 10 minutes to the north. So I went to Detroit. I went 10 minutes north, half hour south. I was everywhere. Yeah, so the Audi RS e-tron GT. That's a nice car. Like for driving, like if you're a driving enthusiast, this and the Taycan as well. So the Audi GT, and they call it the RS e-tron GT for the $140,000 high-end spec one, goes 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, 3.1 seconds. It's quite fast. It has the nice big wheels. It's it looks like the Taycan. It's got 2 back seats. I think you could probably put a kid in the middle if you wanted to, but like, come on, this is not a. Oh, check out my drone shot on there. The drone actually got caught on the wires coming back the other way. But props to Skydio for their awesome AI drones. One person can drive and do a drone shot at the same time. Anyway, we drove over the other side of the Hudson River along the mountains. I brought my wife along, cheap date. And she was like, yeah, I don't like this at all. Like, I would much rather be higher up. I would much rather have more space, and I'm like, but it's so much fun to drive. And she's like, yeah, no, I don't. She was actually more interested in the Audi e-tron in front of us. That, you can see it there. Like, she was like, yeah, I would rather have that. And, so, I guess it's
well, it's not a car for everyone.
Right. Sure. It's not a car for everyone. That's it. But for me, I would have an amazing time with that.
That's your wife getting that shot here with her half her hand on the shot.
Yeah, I mean, it was a date, so.
So you could complain about the photography.
While you're here, you might as well pick up the camera and get some good shots here. Yeah, that's the Bear Mountain Bridge there, and the interior is really nice. Like, so that's kind of the other big difference between this and the Taycan. Because if you're spending $100,000 on a car, you're probably choosing between a Tesla and a Porsche.
It's so confusing every time you both on the screen at the same time. Sorry. Yeah, it's kind of like the EV6 to the Ioniq 5. This is the what to the Taycan, what the EV6 is to the Ioniq 5. Yeah.
But it's more of a luxury thing inside and out. On the outside, it looks a little bit more subdued. The Taycan's a little bit more, sexy, I guess. And then on the inside, it's a little bit more luxurious, where the Taycan's a little bit more sporty. I mean, after driving the Taycan for a couple hours, like my body hurt, like my neck hurt, my shoulders hurt from just bouncing around and accelerating and decelerating. Whereas this, it wasn't quite as long. I was only in it for an hour, but it was a little bit more smooth on the acceleration, a little bit more subdued on the turns. So, if that's what you're into, I would be quite pleased with this car. If I was shopping for a $140,000 car.
I have the same experience in the Taycan, but I did test it on their Experience racetrack in the Porsche Experience racetrack in Los Angeles. So it was more spirited driving than you would normally do. I think it's normal to come out of it with your arm shaking and your stiffness in the neck. You can definitely drive a Porsche and the Porsche Taycan and be comfortable doing it too. But every time we get into a car, we try to, especially for those test drive, we try to push them a little bit. So,
which Taycan did you have?
The Turbo S.
Turbo S, yeah. I never got the Turbo S. I've been in the Turbo only. Yeah. And we'll have a review. We'll have a review of the Gran Turismo, whatever.
Cross Turismo.
Cross Turismo, whatever. That's going to be this weekend or Monday. We're still editing the drone video on that, so
All right,
it should be fun.
Again, the fun. I need to be able to get out of Canada.
Get vaccinated.
Yeah, I'm getting
That's
vaccinated.
easier said than done, right?
Getting out so I can get into some of those test drives. But yeah, you want to do a quick plug before we get into the Tesla news?
Yeah. So, speaking of Volkswagen company, the all-new, all-electric Volkswagen ID.4 SUV with 0 direct emissions was created for everyone. You'll get tech features that make you wonder how you ever survived without them, like a powerful voice control system. With an optional panoramic glass roof, all you have to do is say, "Hello, ID, open sunshade," to enjoy this sunshine hands-free. Before it can change the world, it has to change yours. Learn more at vw.com/ID4.
Yes. All right, so different format this week. We actually hand the show. Well, we're going to hand the show on your comments, of course, and your questions. So put that in the comment section right now. But in terms of the news, we're going to hand with the testing news this week, starting with official start of Model S deliveries. The new Model S, the Plaid, or the updated version in general, but we assume that the Plaid are going to be delivered first. Like Tesla generally start with the performance version, comes down. Last week we did report that we heard from some sources that the first week of June will actually be the first deliveries. Elon confirmed it, and there's actually going to be a delivery event for it in California. And did he say a Fremont factory? California factory, yeah, in Fremont. And June 3rd it's going to happen. So that's pretty much all he said. He did confirm like the under 2 seconds 0 to 60, but we already knew that. What I'm more hoping for is we actually get not just like a quick like handover of the keys, but an actual presentation on the vehicle, which we never really had. I mean, they really kind of half-assed the whole releasing of that car, like in the middle of a earnings release. That was kind of weird. I mean, I've been following Tesla for years, and I remember Elon saying maybe half a dozen times to people, earnings calls are not a time for a product announcement or anything like that. And then they do the whole new Model S in the middle of an earnings call. But he did say that they were going to do another press conference or conference call the next week about the new Model S, but he never did. So I would assume that there's going to be a whole presentation with it, and they're going to go into more details into all the changes that happened to the car, which is more than the aesthetic ones that we see with the new interior and a few design accents that are different on the exterior. It's a new powertrain. It's the Palladium thing that we've been talking about for now over a year at Electrek. The a new drivetrain, a whole new Palladium drivetrain, a new battery pack. Not necessarily the structural battery pack that was unveiled in September, but still an update to the battery modules. And the whole structural battery pack is going to be reserved for the Plaid Plus that they're calling it. So exciting stuff coming on June 3rd.
Think we're gonna get an invite?
I don't know anymore. Maybe it's just going to be for people that are actually going to get the car, because Tesla apparently has a decent amount of them. Like the since the production was delayed, but it was more about testing. So
do we know if they're going to have steering wheels or yokes?
Oh gosh, you're not even calling that yoke thing a steering wheel. I was confused. Thought like maybe you knew something I didn't know, like they were going to release a self-driving version or something. That's one of the things that I would like to know exactly what's going to be the plan for that, because we've seen both, and there's been question about the legality of the yoke steering wheel. But I mean, the big thing that I've been talking about for a while and Tesla didn't discuss is like the yoke thing with a butterfly. Let's call it a butterfly, because that's what people call it before Tesla just like made one and then decided to change the name. That would likely mean a steer-by-wire system too.
Right, that's a big deal.
Like the whole removal of the stalk and everything, and that's a big deal. And people keep complaining like, oh, like how is it gonna feel and everything. That's the whole thing with a steer-by-wire. You can change the feel a lot, so just a little bit of movement can make a difference in the turning capacity of the vehicle. So, knowing Tesla, I think they tuned that. They've been tuning that, I should say, to perfection and or near perfection. So I'm looking forward for that, and I hope that the presentation, if there is one, goes into that stuff.
That's true. I haven't heard about steer by wire in a while, and that was something that we talked about quite a bit. But that would kind of make the yoke or the butterfly a little bit easier to tolerate.
Mm-hmm. All right. Overnight, last night, another price increase on Model 3, Model Y. We won't get into it too much because, it's happening every 2 weeks now. We just keep repeating ourselves. So I'm just going to focus on the actual new prices.
Teslaflation.
Yeah. Standard Range Plus went from $39,500 to $40,000. $500 increase. Another $500 increase on the long range all-wheel drive. So now it's $49,000. Performance version stay the same. Same thing for Model Y. Performance version stay the same, but the long range all-wheel drive went from $51,500 to $52,000. So this has been happening over the last few months, and basically the Standard Range Plus, which is the cheapest Tesla vehicle, the Model 3 Standard Range Plus, went from $37,000 to $40,000, which is now an 8% increase. We've been talking about it's inflation with the cost. It's potentially the chip shortage affecting the cost, or it's just Tesla taking advantage of the demand, or it's the tax credit or rebate coming. It could be any of those. It can be a combination of those. We don't know exactly. But speaking of supply chain issue and chip shortage, we did have a big story this week that we released about containment hold on a lot of Tesla cars coming out of Fremont factory. So sources that are familiar with the matter told Electrek that Tesla had over 10,000 cars, but between 10,000 and 20,000, and that was on May 18th. So that was a few days ago. It might have increased by then because there was no known fix at that time. So between 10,000 and 20,000, probably now more again, were on what Tesla calls a containment hold, which is when the car actually comes out of the assembly line, but Tesla doesn't authorize it for delivery. So they keep them on hold because there's an issue that make it so that you cannot deliver it. In this case, we were told by sources that the issue was a missing part. However, they couldn't pinpoint what is the missing part. Tesla is keeping that very close to its chest. Not a lot of people know about it. But yeah, it has delayed a lot of deliveries for Tesla, and it is gonna, especially if doesn't get resolved soon, it's gonna result in a pretty significant logistical nightmare because now that Tesla cannot keep all those cars at the factory, so they keep still delivering them to delivery centers, service centers, and all that stuff. But they are still in containment hold while they're there. The good news with that is that it means that the service team can actually have the part, can actually fix the containment hold issue. But what it is going to result, it's at the coming weeks, and especially the end of the quarter that is coming, Tesla is going to try to still deliver those vehicles on top of the ones that they're going to be coming out of the factory that won't be in containment hold by then. And now the service team are going to have to fix all those cars on top of delivering the one that they have to deliver by the end of the quarter. So service team, delivery teams at Tesla, probably going to be a nightmare this end of quarter. And it's kind of a bummer because Tesla sort of maybe not solved that issue in the last few quarters, but they did reduce that crazy end of quarter pushes that Tesla used to have. It calmed down the last few quarters while still achieving new delivery records. So we can expect Tesla to regress a little bit on that front, though hopefully it's just temporary. It's because of the supply chain issue that Tesla has been having. I'm going to try to have an update of this next week to see exactly what happened, because best case scenarios is logistical nightmare at the end of the quarter. Worst case scenario is that it actually affects Tesla's deliveries for this quarter. All right, now on the better news front, the Tesla Model Y megacast, the giant front underbody of the vehicle platform, was produced at Gigafactory Texas for the first time. So last week there was some rumble of Tesla actually using this new giant Giga press that they have. They just received it last month at the Gigafactory Texas site, and it was seen by the drone videos as being in operation. Like there was actually people the machine was working, but we don't know exactly what they were doing with it. Were they tuning it, or they were actually looking to produce a part? But there was actually a leak of the picture from let me get the name here. What's happening with this? with his post. Oh, okay. Mr. Alex Turk. He's a casting expert out of in Germany, and he said that he received this picture that we see here, which shows some Tesla people, at least people wearing Tesla art hats, in front of what is clearly a Model Y front underbody, and produced in one big piece for the first time. So Tesla was already doing that at Fremont for the back of it. Now the front of it is being produced too. And Mr. Thurk, I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name, is said that there's someone on the team sent him that picture, and he decided to share it because he believed it's a significant achievement and a step forward in casting for the automotive industry. Like automotive industry never produced parts that big in casting, and we know that from the back end for Tesla, it resulted in 70 parts becoming 2 and then 1. So we expect something similar for the front end. So you can imagine just how big of an improvement it would be if you can do the front end like that, the back end, and then just use that structural battery pack that Tesla unveiled in September to connect the two, and you have an entire vehicle underbody here. And I mean, I cannot really say 3 parts because the structural battery pack is obviously not really one part. It kind of is one part, but of course it was made of several parts before that. But still, you understand what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
All right. Good to know. All right, now the Roadster. We talked a little bit about the Roadster this week, which is kind of rare. We haven't heard much about it, but it did show up at the Peterson Museum this week. Tesla loaned the loan prototype that they have for the Roadster, and some people, of course, took a look at it and everything. Share some pictures, and Elon actually commented on one of those pictures on social media, saying that the production article will look different, and then put better in parentheses. Okay, that's not all that information. But it does mean that they are updating the design, at least for the production version. So that's interesting news in itself. But then what was really interesting too is that, and I missed that in my original article about it, but the plaque on it, like a museum, when you look at the piece of art or whatever, in this case, a production car, or a prototype of a car, there's always a plaque with information on it. And on that plaque, it said that the SpaceX package that comes with it, which we've talked about, is the cold air thrusters that go with it, going to result in a 0 to 60 acceleration in 1.1 seconds. Now, it's the plaque on the museum saying that, but we assume that they work with Tesla to confirm the information on that plaque. And then Elon Musk actually confirmed it on Twitter after that yeah, the actual target for the Tesla Roadster with SpaceX package is a 1.10 to 60 acceleration.
Crazy.
No, it's insane.
And I'm assuming you're not going to need a special license to drive this thing. You're basically going to have a top fuel dragster. I feel like this is going to be dangerous.
Oh, you feel like it's 100% dangerous to put that much power in people's hand. Since it's cold air thruster, like maybe you can only use it on closed circuit. That wouldn't be like a big. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens, because it's crazy. Like just a 2-second acceleration is already extremely insane. 1.1, I cannot even imagine it. What that feels like.
I mean, that's like a dragster speed.
Yeah, I mean a 2-second acceleration, you have to brace yourself for it. Like you have to be ready. It's not that crazy. Like unless like you're like a wimp or something, like you don't have like a strong neck or something, you could hurt yourself. But you can still like withstand it. Like you can mess with someone as a passenger and just like accelerate it and just get them a little bump in the head or something. It's not a nice thing to do for sure, but it's still like playful to it. A 1.1, I cannot imagine that being played. I can imagine being sued by someone.
Yeah, like whiplash.
Yeah, for a whiplash. It's not playful anymore. It's
also like, how are these tires gonna? Well, I guess a lot of the force is going to be coming through the air, so it won't be all tires. But I mean, when we test drove the Roadster at the event, the guy would not accelerate until we put our head back against the thing. He's like, I can't I can't move until you put your
The
head
legal
up there.
department told me that
Yeah,
you guys have to.
it was legally a thing. He was like, I literally will not
Yeah.
start this car until you put your head up against the back of the headrest.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know what he means by that, but that was 1.9, right?
yeah, that was like, a 2-second.
Yeah, so it's almost half of that.
Right. Double the force.
Yeah, double the force almost.
Crazy.
It's insane. It's insane. So I love the like I have 2 Tesla performance vehicles, and I do use the acceleration of them when I'm like on a red light and it's like a 90 kilometers an hour
I feel
road.
it's like an obligation. Like,
yeah, I mean it's fun, and it's the only time like it's relatively safe to do it. Like there's no one in front of you.
You're not breaking the law.
You're not breaking the law. I start decelerating when I hit the 90 kilometer hour mark, so I still get, it's not even a fully 0 to 60, but it's pretty close, and it's fun. I don't know if I could floor that but again, it's with the SpaceX package, so you have to engage the colder thruster to do it. Again, that could be an issue in itself. Like it could be just a closed circuit thing. But I mean, for sure, I would bring that car to the drag strip and and just leave people in the dust, or actually clean them off with my.
Right.
It's like one of those things for the dead leaf, like the blower, the leaf blower.
Right. That's basically, you've got like the most powerful leaf blower in the world. Maybe you can clear off your driveway with those things too.
Yeah, you just a quick hover.
Yeah.
And get your driveway.
Maybe you got a very light snow on the ground. You just hover around your driveway and clear off all the snow.
Yeah,
nice.
Don't take that car out when it's snowing outside.
No,
please.
probably not.
You have to store that car. All right, let's get into the comments.
All right, a lot of comments today. We'll start. Mark Nevar, WRT using EV battery to power house. Are we not worried about the batteries are not quite ready for this dual use? Has Ford tested this capability to failure? Yes, Ford was testing that. It's not like their first go round. House is actually a lot easier of an application. Stationary storage is a lot easier for batteries to handle than being in a car and accelerating and using tons of power. So I don't see it as being a problem any more than power walls are a problem. What do you think, Fred?
Well, I mean, you said earlier that you didn't know why Tesla didn't want to do it, and you said like maybe like you think that people don't want that, and yes, that was definitely one of the reason for it. Like they think that people don't want to use the same battery for that. But I remember JB Straubel going into the subject when he was more talking about focusing more on the controllable load instead of bidirectional charging. And he said that one of the concerns is definitely the longevity, because yes, while they did test that, at the end of the day, a battery pack has a certain number of cycle capacity before a percentage of degradation. And it is a concern, but batteries are evolving, especially the longevity of batteries have been evolving super fast. And even Tesla, you're talking about their 1 million miles battery right now. Like if you have a 1 million miles battery, you're not that much concerned about a few cycles and maybe every few months on your car for power backup. So even then, that's, I mean, depends everywhere. But I know, for example, my parents have had issues where they are in terms of the power outages because of live in the woods, and something happens, like a snowstorm and knocks a line or whatever, and they would have like intermittent power outages. Like normally they don't last a day. And so you don't even have a full cycle of your battery use for that. So it's the equivalent of going on a little road trip, a tiny little road trip on your car. Or when you go on a road trip, are you really concerned like, oh, I'm using a cycle on my battery pack right now, and this is gonna reduce the longevity of it? You're not that concerned about that. So I think people could definitely get over that.
Yeah, for sure. All right. What's with no 500-mile range option for the F-150? Well, that's quite a lot of batteries for a truck. I think didn't the Cybertruck have a top?
Cybertruck's tri-motor version apparently can do more than 500 miles. That's what Tesla said. But yeah, I mean, does the Rivian has a 500 miles option too? Like, no. I don't think so.
No, I think 500 miles is kind of overkill.
Yeah. How often you do 500 miles? Now, I do see it for a truck, the advantage of it, of course, because like the 300-mile extended range version of the F-150 doesn't get 300 miles if you're towing a 10,000
or in
pound
the
trailer.
snow or all that other stuff.
Yeah. So I do see the appeal for that. But at the same time, for a lot of users, it's going to be overkill. So yeah, they're just not addressing that market. But yeah, that's where Tesla has the advantage for sure. If they do focus on that version first, they're gonna have the longest range version out there of any pickup truck, and that's gonna be an advantage for Tesla, no doubt.
Yeah, Rivian does. Was it Rivian that had a modular battery that you could add a battery like in the toolbox area or something?
Well, they have a patent for that. I don't know if they ever actually announced the accessory itself to be.
I mean, for me, like if you're plowing snow or something and you need like an extra battery, I feel like having an external extra battery would make some sense there. I mean, the thing can carry, the payload is 1800 to 2000 pounds. So you could have quite a big battery in the back. And so that's an option. I mean, there's a lot of things coming. That was kind of a big takeaway from the Darren thing is, they don't want to overwhelm people with all this information. So they're going to kind of drop some more information as it comes.
But it looks like they thought of almost everything.
All right.
You don't want to do that last question? That's a good question.
Hydrogen-powered cars, are they the future? Go ahead, Fred.
Yes, they are the future, and they will always be the future.
They will always be the future. All right. Hydrogen-powered planes, that makes sense. All right. Jonathan 769132272 says the 53K version doesn't come with 300 miles standard. I think that's wrong. You can get a $50,000 version, $49,000 version, but that's for fleets that has 300 miles. So they haven't announced the price for the other one. So maybe
the consumer version is not announced yet for the 300 miles, but it's gonna be available.
Right.
It's just they haven't released all the details of it yet.
Right.
But I would expect the price to be very similar.
Yeah. How are they going to handle the batteries when they go bad or bad during production?
Not sure what you mean by going bad during production of them. Like there's always scrap when you do battery production. You have to scrap some of them. It's normal, but they are recycled. And same for when they go bad after the actual life expectation. They are recycled, and there's no doubt about that. Like don't be worried about them in the landfill somewhere. Like there's a ton of value in them being recycled, so someone's going to want to recycle them. There's no doubt about that.
All right. Pepperidge Cookie says Tesla has the system to do vehicle to home.
Yeah, that's what they said at the September battery day.
I
all
feel
future models going to have.
They had something about Europe's cars can do that now.
Yeah, because of the three-phase system and the inverter.
Right.
But they have it, but you have to enable it. Like that's the thing.
There's no products.
There's no value in it if you don't enable it.
Boss Music, yeah, but I bet battery efficacy isn't optimal. All right. Batteries matter, and type in how it's made. I think we're throwing darts at Ford here. Batteries power the EV, not the tech. All right. Brian A says, we know from the Powerwall that the F-150 can't power a house for 3 days, let alone 10 days, without having to stop to go charge and then come back.
Well, the Powerwall is 13.5 kilowatt hour capacity.
It's about a tenth. So
yeah,
F-150 is going to be 10 Powerwalls.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure. I mean, and it always depends, of course, on the load on your house. But and they did say like 10 days you have to manage things like no AC and things like that. But that's just common sense right there.
Yeah, especially if it's going to be extended outage. All right, how does the F-150 compare to the electric Hummer? Well, it's less expensive. That much we know.
Yeah, I mean the electric Hummer is like you have to give GM they were smart about it when they said like it's the first super truck. I mean they're right. It's its own category. It's a super truck. Whether you like it or not, it's that, and it's decked out with features to the teeth, and it's nice. It's
crab
wall, crab mode, crab everything.
What
crab
a megawatt of power?
Yeah, I mean it's a nice machine, but yeah, I don't think there's going to be a big overlap in the customer demand for the F-150, the Hummer. Like they all live in their own little world.
All
And
right,
Daniel's agreeing with me. Thank
yeah,
you, Daniel.
I agree with Fred. Vehicle to X is the no-brainer. However, I can understand why Tesla hasn't done it yet. Maybe the market will force them to. Will be interesting.
Oh yeah,
Well,
they will force them. I think that's what
I
we're
mean, Tesla
discussing.
is selling a Powerwall. Like
Yeah.
that's what the product does. They don't really want to say, well, you don't really need a Powerwall. You can just
Mm.
plug in your car. So
Of course, the power. I think always the power there is definitely has its own advantages for
for
sure.
sure.
Especially if you have solar, and it's a better way to use than if you don't have net metering, for example. Then yes, you're gonna want to keep that energy for you. And if your car is not plugged in, you cannot have it. You're just wasting it. Like just no. But then you definitely need dedicated home energy storage capacity. So it's not like vehicle to grid, vehicle to home is just gonna wipe out the home battery pack industry. I think the home battery pack industry still has plenty of room to grow, but it is an interesting option for sure.
All right. Jolly Green's with us when he says, I want to see a range extender add-on. The only problem is how do you get that thing on your, like that thing's going to be super heavy.
Yeah,
Like you have a
a
forklift at the
contraption.
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Vicente Perez says the F-150 does have a great starting price, but Automotive News reports that production will be limited to 80,000 trucks the first year. That's not a bad first year
That's
run.
awesome. That would like limited. Like if they start at the 80,000 trucks for the first year, I'll be through the moon. Like this.
Still sounds like a compliance. Well, I guess in the grand scheme of things, they make like 1 million F-150s a year,
Yeah.
so it's like 1/10.
They've been making it for 50 years too. Like things take time to ramp up. But do you know of how many 80,000 trucks? How many much batteries that take? That's a lot of batteries.
A lot of
If
batteries.
they can pull that off the first year, I'll be impressed. Don't think that Tesla's going to make 80,000 Cybertruck the first year of production. No chance. There's no chance. And
Yeah,
it's not
especially if it's this year.
yeah, and it's not a slight on Tesla. No, I'm talking about the first 12 months of production here, and even forget like the actual like calendar year. 80,000 would be great. Of course, I want that to ramp up to 1 million when however how much they make F-150 per year. But for the first year, I would be very happy with 80,000. I don't know where Automotive News is taking that news. We just talked to Darren, and he wouldn't actually confirm. And
I think maybe they were using the 60 gigawatt hours of the factory, the SK factory.
No, but that won't be in production until like 2024 or something.
Yeah,
whatever. So that's not even it. It's SK's current production capacity. That's the thing.
So he's referring to I want a range extender, and Daniel says Jolly Green, or at least allow charging while driving, backup generator in the bed. Not a crazy idea. I mean, if you have that rare edge case, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to do that. Devin Bodner sir says, I think they should have a roof solar panel to help range and charge while parked. Do they have that? Well,
No.
we usually talk about this at least once every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Putting a panel on a truck would be nice, but it would probably add like a mile a day. So
yeah, but at the same time, like I think this is a plus for the Cybertruck because of the tonneau thing, the vault cover.
mm-hmm.
Like if you're gonna have a vault cover, you might as well put solar cells on
Right.
it. That makes sense. The F-150 doesn't have a bed cover, so yeah.
Boss Music, do they say the type of batteries that are in the new EV F-150? I bet not. They said prismatic
Cells.
pouch cells from SK.
Don't know the actual chemistry of it.
Yeah. If they made a universal 115 or 230 charge port, you could add your own solar. Might make a lot of sense on covered trailer.
That's for the very like technical tinkerer and stuff like that. Like for the average consumer, adding a solar system on your truck is not none of the realm of possibilities for most people, I feel like.
The trick is to allow charging while driving. Yeah, I mean, you could always just tap into the I mean, you could even go into the 12-volt system, like old school.
Well, you could do something that's deployable for like a camping situation.
Right.
That's a lot more doable, but something that actually like pulls to charge the driving pack, the main pack, it's a little bit more complicated.
All right, Boss Music seems to believe that the Ford batteries are not going to be as good as the Cybertruck batteries, but doesn't really have any evidence. You can get batteries at the dollar store that will last you a week versus buying brand name that will last you 6 months. That's the difference between the Cybertruck and this.
I mean, I think that's there's a lot of assumptions here.
Little Tesla fandom coming in there. A trailer isn't always needed, and a lot of people use a truck as a daily vehicle. So if they park at stores, restaurant, or work, you can charge without worrying about setting up the solar charger or trailer. Sure, yeah, but you won't have any vampire train that way. Tesla versus other OEMs like Ford, it's going to be about the battery production ramp-up competition. And longer term, it's going to be about the pace of innovation, battery and motor tech mainly.
That's a very insightful comment. And that's why I was happy to see Ford. Like it wasn't long ago that Ford was like, nah, we don't actually need battery production. To be fair, that was the previous CEO before Jim Farley that said that. You remember that guy's name? Don't remember, but
Hackett.
No, Jim. No,
was that?
There was the one before. Anyway, I don't remember, but yeah, maybe. But he was like, I don't understand where Tesla is making their own batteries. They in partnership with Panasonic and everything. We don't need that. It was just suppliers are fine and everything. It was just a few years ago. Now Ford is like, yeah, joint venture with SK Innovation.
I feel like it was even more recent than that. Like 9 months ago, I think Ford was saying something on the battery call. One of the analysts were like, yeah, what happened 9 months ago? You said you didn't need your own factory. Oh, I think everybody learns. Like GM learned, Volkswagen learned, and Tesla learned, 5-6 years ago. You need to have your own supply. All right, Daniel Bosner, for sure. I'm just saying a universal solution would let owner choose what to do instead of forcing a specific option.
Yeah, I mean, the solar thing on the Cybertruck is going to be optional.
Yeah.
What I've heard.
Batteries will be SK Innovation. That's right. The F-150 Lightning isn't going to steal many Cybertruck sales. That remains to be seen. I think it's going to, it's going to be what actually comes out of the factory that people are going to choose. It's going to steal sales from Ram, Chevy, GMC, Ford, ICE truck sales. That's for sure. Plenty of market share to go around. Yep.
Yeah, but I think it's going to steal some Cybertruck too.
Yeah, we know of one person at least, Bradley, and
you literally cancel the Cybertruck order to order the F-150.
Right.
I'm sure he's not alone.
When you pre-order, you have to select a Ford dealership. So I'd assume the ones that populate are on board.
Yeah, they have this situation now that people are like ordering, and then their dealership called them right back and like, "Hey, thanks for ordering the F-150."
Yeah, thanks for giving them my number.
Yeah.
Once you give a car dealership your phone number, you've made a friend for life. Every week they will call, make sure you're all right. Not needing any cars. All right. I was thinking as an add-on package if the buyer chose whether they wanted panel or not. All right, we're still talking about that. Do you think the new Lightning will make Tesla change anything about the Cybertruck? That's a good question. Or is it just too late in development? High possibility of Cybertruck tri-motor launching a similar time to base model Lightning 2. I think the biggest thing for me would be like the house power system. I think that's something that Tesla could really. They obviously.
I think it's already in there, like the capabilities in there. But maybe with Ford getting on board, and before that Hyundai and all that stuff, maybe it's going to force Tesla to actually like make it more of a focus, a feature, like on the Cybertruck. That would make sense. In terms of the launching of the tri-motor version, I think the tri-motor is already supposed to be the first version launching, if I'm not mistaken. I think they said that the dual, like the two higher end version going to launch first, and then the base version is going to be the last one. So,
do you think that's the Palladium?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you think the new Lightning will make Tesla? Oh yeah, I just read that. All right. Did Ford talk about the production cost of the ICE F-150 versus Electrek? Not really.
But they did say that they're going to make money off the Lightning version.
Yep. One of their first requirements is making money. Is Tesla applying advancements in vision AI to its manufacturing process, where one machine can figure out how to do a task better, improving its robustness, precision, and versatility?
Yeah, I actually had an article on that a few months ago. Tesla was hiring a new team to develop a new manufacturing vision system. Didn't really talk about AI actually like figuring out new processes or anything like that. But yeah, they are working on a manufacturing computer vision system, a new one. I mean, it's not a new thing, computer vision in manufacturing, but Tesla wants to. Normally, it's like a third-party system that you adapt for your production. Now Tesla, as they always do, they want to vertically integrate everything and do their own thing on that front.
All right, we're only halfway through the comments, so we're going to try to speed it up here a little
Oh.
bit. I hear Tesla customer service is a nightmare. I've had good experience with Ford. That's a valid criticism. Sometimes it can be a pain, but sometimes Tesla drives out to your house and fixes your car for you.
Yeah.
So it's more like the cars are not quite as quality. The Tesla people are quite nice and quite good. All right, Dan, I have a great experience. The only time I needed to take it in for service, we're talking about Model 3. Electrics are great. However, you still have the problem of lag and recharge time compared to the quicker refuel of gasoline and diesel powered vehicles. Where do you plug in the wild? Well, if you have plenty of time, you can plug in just about anywhere.
Yeah, there's definitely more plug. So where do you get your gas in the wild? Like, what's the point of that? Actually, they're looking to, like Rivian with their Adventure network, they're looking to put them like in national parks and things like that. So,
all right, Daniel's remarking on our vaccine comment. I was kind of just joking around. When you get into the U.S., the borders are closed. You need an excuse right now.
Yeah, it's just I can travel right now. It's just so much more complicated. So I'm hoping that by the time I get vaccinated and everything, which should be in a few weeks, it's going to be easier for everyone and not as complicated coming back and all that stuff.
We're hearing some experiences with service. Refueling, definitely a big disadvantage for EVs for sure. Charging infrastructure still has a long way to go, but growing faster and faster. Gas stations had 100 years to get built. I would say like that's half the story. The other half of the story is you wake up every morning with 300 miles of range and you don't have to think about a gas station unless you're going on a long trip. So
yeah, it's not a perfect comparison with gas station. That's the main focus. Because I remember when I first started, even before I started with Electrek, that was one of my first thing that I focused on. When every time the media was trying to compare charging infrastructure to gas station and like, hey, look, we have this number of gas station with this number of charge points, and like this is not a good comparison at all. And now I think that people have caught up a little bit to that fact, but definitely need more people to know about it.
All right, Bird Dog says Tesla Cybertruck with its proprietary steel alloy will be a game changer with its ability to change color. And I can't wait. You might be waiting a while for the color changing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is definitely a way to change color of steel with heat, but I think they were more talking about wraps. Just do wraps.
Oh yeah, the wraps.
Way easier.
The Tesla is still an elitist vehicle! Exclamation point. What it needs is a Ford style Model T or VW Beetle bus, an affordable car truck for the masses. Then you'll have a real breakthrough on your hands.
Well, that's the Model 2 or whatever they want to call it. $25,000 Tesla. They're working on that.
All right, Daniel, unless you're on the road really long distances every day, like a salesman on the road, you won't supercharge much. I've had it 1 year and didn't supercharge at all. Yeah, I think a lot of people find that out.
And then if you are on the road a lot and you're using superchargers and everything, it might end up being cheaper actually. Like I have one of my friend that like was doing the math, and he does consultation for energy in the houses. So he's always traveling around, and he was doing the math, and I actually couldn't afford not to get an electric vehicle because there's so much savings in terms of gas savings.
Just trying to get through some of these other ones. Yeah, I've been driving an EV for 8 years. Quick fueling is still the biggest disadvantage by far. It's the only one left at this point. Yeah, I guess that's probably true. It's also a little bit heavier. EVs are a little heavier overall, so the tires kind of get killed. Road trips, agree. Whiplash. 1.1 seconds, 0 to 60 will look fake. It's going to be a recipe for disaster, but I'm sure Tesla is aware of this. Ha. Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, I would be fine if they just limited to the racetracks and everything like that. But
I wonder if they could geo limit it.
Do you remember when they did was it the Ludicrous They did where like it says like, do you want to unleash the full power,
or
or you want to
something
call your
mommy.
mommy? Yeah,
Yeah.
call your mommy instead. No, I'm too much of a wimp. I won't call my mommy.
Roadster Racing League. That's a nice idea. Fighter pilot G-Force. Yes to the league. Probably censor the headset. All right, we have a paying commenter. Whiplash, a hospital time. From John Check. Thanks for the $2. But that's not all. Roadster passengers have to sign a liability waiver.
That's basically the message that you get with the ludicrous. It's like a liability waiver.
Yeah. All right. I wonder if you can engage the thrusters when in motion. I would think not for 1,000 reasons, but imagine going from 80 miles per hour to 120 miles per hour in a second.
No, actually, that was discussed as one of the main features. It's not just about acceleration, but it's about cornering and things like that. As you're in motion, the thrusters, if like they wouldn't be just in the back, they could actually help you like stay to the ground and grip the ground while doing some more aggressive driving.
Maybe even braking. Like you
Maybe, yeah. I don't know how aesthetically it would work though, but
yeah,
in the front, I think the thrusters in the front, but it's not impossible.
All right, John checks back with a $5. What's the definition of an excessive acceleration? Could you get a ticket for that?
Yeah, that's one of my concerns though, because you just said when I was like when we talk about accelerating from the red light, and you said it's not illegal. It's not illegal. Like you're not breaking the speed limit or anything like that, but you could still get a ticket for like dangerous driving if a cop felt like it wouldn't be safe to do it. Yeah, it can still be a ticketable offense, I guess.
All right, Daniel Zajac has the best question I've ever heard. Where do we submit questions for the podcast?
we answered like 20 of your questions today. Or discuss your comments at least.
That's funny. Do you think the 300-mile F-150 will be available for $50K, or will be the extended range be an expensive option, pushing the price around $60K? I think it'll be around $50K, and then that's before incentives. But I have a feeling people who want to spend $50,000 for a pickup truck are going to also want a lot of the extras. So it'll probably push it.
Yeah, because the F-150 can get really plush. Like it's like driving a fancy SUV.
Yeah.
When it's well equipped.
Does anyone know anything about renting EVs in Europe? A year ago, pre-pandemic, it didn't seem widely available. Fuel is super expensive there. EVs make more sense. Yeah,
actually, you have great subscription services too in Europe for electric vehicles. You should look into it. And I don't know if Next Move does that, but they do renting. But I don't know if they do subscription services where you can like go month to month, and it includes the insurance and everything. You have some great options for that in Europe.
All right, Gary Woodsworth said, I'm glad you gave positive coverage to the Ford. Well, it was just what we thought. Even so, isn't the 40,000K version limited to commercial sales? I guess everyone gives the unobtainable price on the reveal. Tesla too. Actually, 40,000 was the consumer price as well, so you can get that. The F-150 extended range versions are optional, both 53 and 60K versions. Do you think this will turn people off the truck?
I don't know what you mean. Like extended range being optional. Like, of course it's optional. Like, there's a standard range and then there's the extended range.
All right, Gary's Tano, $5. Won't Cybertruck have a huge lead by the time F resolves its battery and production hell issues? I don't know.
I don't know. Like, there seemed to be like a perception problem on that front. Like with the other commenter saying like they're only gonna make 80,000 the first year. I would be shocked if Tesla gets anything close to that the first year. On top of it, like the Cybertruck is even more ambitious with that old exoskeleton frame. Like, to think that Tesla is just going to be able to solve that whole issue and just reach volume production within a year is extremely optimistic to look at. And Elon has hinted to that himself. It's like, he's been pretty clear, like, at setting up the stage for a possible delay into 2022. At this point, I think it's more likely that we won't see the car in 2021 than in 2022. And even then, in 2022, I think it's going to be a slow ramp up. So, no, I think actually Ford is in great position now to deliver the car in the second half of 2022 and move into volume production in 2023. Then the first year, I think, around that 80,000 unit would be awesome. But I would expect lower than that. Like, if you tell me right now, who's going to make the most electric pickup truck in 2023? my bets would be like almost like tied between Tesla, Rivian, and Ford.
Interesting.
There's GM also with the Silverado electric coming up. That I mean, the Hummer won't be like a big volume thing, but we'll see what they do with the Silverado and how fast they can bring that to production.
So we're gonna move a little bit quicker here. Will the Hummer super truck have a hyper frunk? Because the Ford has a mega trunk. Will it have a hyper frunk?
I don't even remember the front of the Hummer, to be honest.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I just skipped right over that in my brain. Maybe they're not going to have a frunk because the Chevy Bolt doesn't have a frunk. Anyway, Jonathan Root says, very disappointed in Ford's misleading F-150 Lightning pricing.
It's not misleading. They just haven't released everything just yet. Like they did release the base price for the standard range version, and they are gradually releasing. Like it's not on the market until next year anyway. So that's when they're going to release another one. But they did share that the extended range is going to be about $10,000 more expensive than the standard range. So that's $50,000, around $50,000 base price for the extended range version. So that's about it.
All right. We're getting close to the bottom here. Do we know anything about the Model S Plaid delivery event on June 3rd? We talked about it briefly. They're going to talk about the Model S Plaid. That's what we know. All your answers will happen at that point. I feel pickup truck drivers' frustration on green lightning will solve their problem. I'm assuming that's about the 0 to 60 time. Yeah. Rivian looks decent, but remains to be seen. I want to see how it goes first.
That's fair. I mean, it's a startup.
Yeah, somebody else, Phil Villanueva. I just switched my RSVP from Cybertruck to F-150 Lightning. Daniel's back. So Daniel came in on Facebook and YouTube. He's pretty, and he's got like 600 questions. I think everyone gets an early F-150 or CT will be able to sell them for a profit. The order backlog will be years.
I don't know about that. People were saying that about the Model 3 too, and that didn't really happen that much.
All right, let's see.
He's responding to what we said earlier about him asking for the questions. It's all good, Daniel.
There's only one Electrify America charger in the state of Minnesota. Somebody's got the game up on this. Yeah, I mean, everybody should be, like, all the manufacturers should be building them. And it sounds like Biden's going to throw some money at it. So.
Yeah. And they will try to get their share of that money, and
right.
We're going to see a lot more announcement on that front, I'm sure.
There's one. When are people going to wake up to the idea of putting a generator in the frunk space? I've sent diagrams. Sent designs to all the major companies, presidential office, Nobel Prize people, anyone. Anywho, what do you guys think?
I think Chad just invented the hybrid vehicle right there.
That's crazy. Don't sell it to. Don't tell BMW about the Rex engine.
Yeah.
Ford Lightning looks great, especially for the price. And then we have one more. The Jose says the Rivian pickup truck suddenly doesn't make any sense to me now. 68,000.
I don't know. I like you could make an argument that Rivian has his own thing going on too, and then like maybe a little more luxury type of deal. But yeah, I mean, it is more expensive. You're right.
Yep. All right, that's it here.
All right, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks everyone for watching on YouTube, on Facebook, and wherever you're watching right now. You can give us a like. The algorithm love that, apparently. You can give us a subscribe too. That's always appreciated. And then when you do that, you are going to get the next episode whenever it comes out. And we're going to have a special one coming up soon with the interview that we just did with Darren Palmer, the head of battery electric vehicle at Ford. So stay on the lookout for that. And then next week, we're going to have a bunch of stuff too with the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the regular show on Friday, as always. So stay tuned for that and have a good weekend. Bye-bye.